everyone, and welcome to our Member Monday Spotlight. Today is April 15th. Oh my gosh, where does the time go? I could have swore we were just sliding into April, and then now we're already halfway through April. It's just crazy to me how fast time goes. And I was talking to Debra this morning about how I love to schedule my schedule based on what works for me. And that is something we could get into for a whole, conversation, but we won't today but we are going to be talking about activating the whole brain. And I think that is very important, that we're making choices in our lives that are giving us the fuel that we need for productivity, right? For whatever that looks like. Is it longevity? Is it productivity? Do you find yourself kind of dying out halfway through the day or getting started in the morning? When are your most productive times? And Debra Murrow is like the artist extraordinaire, but it's more than art, right? It activates several places of our brain. Now, you can find Debra pretty much at any NAWBO event that's a local here in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as at the Empower and Elevate conferences. She always draws a beautiful canvas that's inspired by the actual conference itself. And I'm going to let her talk about her services and how she does it. But I'm really excited to have you here today, Debra. You're a favorite member of mine in the community, the LEAP community. I love promoting you and your brand and what you do because I just think it's so great. So tell us a little bit more about what you do and why you do it, and why you decided to go this route as being an artist.
Absolutely. So long spiritual journey. I won't get into that, but I saw some things in New York City that on the walls. I was going, to art galleries, and I thought to myself, wow, I can do that. So at that moment, I made the decision, you know what? I'm going to be an artist. And I was only doing my art for fun on the side. So that really sparked the journey. So fast forward, I realized that everybody can draw and draw well. And so my first lesson here is we all need to accept your greatness. So I always have people say on 3, I'm an artist and I'm creative. 1, 2, 3. I'm an artist and I'm creative. That's right. We have to accept that first, because that will be the catalyst to allow our creativity to spark. Now, there's a lot of art out there. You have performing arts, you have culinary arts, you have drama. So when you're saying I'm not in any matter sense of the word, you're saying no to the universe, no to God, no. And then that's exactly what you're going to get back. But we're all in business, right? So we have to, like Colleen just said, use your whole brain. I don't teach people to become fine artists, or maybe they will. I teach you to unlock your potential, unlock that right side, because it's so important. Just the other day, my daughter's doing an essay, and she chose therapy, art therapy. I was like, yay. So it really reminded me, trauma gets stuck in the brain. And one session, I've had people pop, cry, just like lose it, because I got them creating and professing, they're artists. We're made in the image and likeness of God. So you're accepting your greatness. And all of a sudden they burst into tears because it was stuck back here. So if you feel stuck and you have no idea why, let's do some art.
Okay.
Right?
So what you're saying is there's like this activation between us actually drawing and creating on a canvas and the synapses in our brain and activating that whole. Did you want to explain that a little bit?
You got it. So when I do a workshop, let's just say the coolest thing I do is work with this brush. So just a little demo. It's a Japanese calligraphy pen brush. So I don't pull out all the paint right away. I do that, but this is a magical pen. I call it my supernatural pen, and I let people play. And you know how hard it is for people to do this? I really literally have to go over and say, okay, go through that line, go over to the side, go here. And their brain's like, wow, and it lights on fire. And then the other thing that unleashes is, let's say I always color over this, but the way I make them color is like this, right? right
Oh,
through the
like
lines.
not
So,
in the little tiny areas where someone
right.
wants to stay within that box that's keeping them
Exactly.
maybe, uh,
Exactly.
actually non-productive because it's not producing any additional neurons to be able
Right.
to do something
Exactly.
different. I got it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So there's a new thing out. You said neurons. It's called neurographics. And
Oh.
the ad, I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, but it says, I just lost my wallet and my friend thought I was crazy because I was doing art. So the funny thing is, I know, right? She was doing art, but this neuron art is these circles that you do this through. You make kind of a mess, and then because the neurons in the brain are kind of circular, but maybe they're rigidy, you're taking your marker, and I use this, but you can use a Sharpie, and you're rounding out the edges and you're consciously just rounding out these edges and making them smooth, which is then making your brain and the neurons smooth. And you're breathing. It's mindless and messy. That's, I think, the key, mindless and messy, because we're stuck in perfectionism and we need to break out of that. And however you need to break out of it. One of the last classes I was doing was this. We were doing torn paper collage. So this is what they had to do. Do you know how hard that was for some people? They're like, you mean I can just tear it? It was such pretty paper. And boom, I had people ripping all over the place. And it was just like when you go crash glass, it's kind of that effect. So it was
Yeah.
so fun. It was so fun. So
Yeah,
I
and
love
no
teaching
one
all
piece is
classes.
gonna
Mhm.
be alike, right? Because when you do that
Exactly.
and you smash glass, every single one of those pieces now are
Yeah.
different, which is really
Right.
cool because you can
Exactly.
create something that looked different from the first thing. So, I know you
That's
do a
right.
lot of art classes where you
Uh-huh.
work with individuals. Why does a company bring you in to have their employees do art? Is it because they
Yeah.
feel like they need those individuals to be thinking outside the box, to be doing
Well,
something different, and they're not being as creative, or what would you say in the past?
yes, 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 and yes. So there's a couple of things. When I go in and do individual art classes, it's speaking to them. I know this law firm brought me in and they said, we're not getting along so well. So we're going to have an art class. And then they wanted input from the people. So my class is a word class with this. So everybody got a voice. So what does XYZ law company mean to you? So as they were speaking, I was creating a piece. And the center word was compassion. And then I added everybody's beautiful words onto that. And then they all had their own individual art piece. I don't do copycat classes
Mm,
because I want to pull out what is singing to you. Like you may like to draw a cat, this person may like to draw a music note. Like it
yeah,
really is very individual. And I want you to go home and be inspired to do it again. And if you have to follow me and I don't like spark this, then that's not going to happen. So I
that's
make it
right.
easy and I do more dry medium / wet. So Japanese calligraphy pen brush, chalk pastel, oil pastel, watercolor crayon, and watercolor pencil. You get this fluidness, but it's not all this messy paint. And you can throw it in a box, put it behind you in your shelving unit, and when you're ready for a cigarette break or an art break, we kind of like do those, right? Um, Pull out your box and literally put your timer on for 5 minutes and start to do something. And it could
Yeah.
be nothing. I like people, they don't like what they made. I'm like, rip it up. And they look at me like, really? I go, yes, rip it up. And they feel so good that they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I could just start again. And it's okay to start again. We start over anew every single morning. My mercies are new every single day, God says.
I think that
So
you are empowering individuals to give themselves permission, really, in
yes,
so many areas of their lives that we're
yes,
not paying attention to on a regular basis, that they feel
yes,
stuck or they feel like, again, they have to follow these rules. They're in this
right.
box, and you kind of break that open and say, no, no,
Yeah,
no. You
yeah.
you get have the permission to do anything here
Oh,
that your heart
absolutely.
desires. And that is something maybe I feel they're not used to hearing.
Yeah.
But you also do the type of art where during an event, you're recording that. Do you want to talk about how you
Oh, yeah.
record an event?
That is so much fun. I look at some of the pieces afterwards and I'm like, how did that happen? So I get when the speaker is talking, I'm there with my brush pen and some ink and an 18 by 24 size paper. So as people are speaking, I'm drawing, I'm pulling out these key points. And because how many times you go to a conference and you forget? So that beautiful piece that just got done goes back to the attendees and they get to think about it, color it, put their notes in, and just have a moment with, okay, what was my takeaway from that conference? Because we spend a year plus
Mm,
planning a conference and then it's like poof, gone. So I put these really fun images in there, and they're not like and they're easy. Like if people, I do a lot of stick people. Like for instance, this one behind me, this I pre-prepped, but this one's going to a conference this weekend. It's called Purpose in the Pain. So during the whole weekend, everybody's going to get to color this and put a piece on, and just there's going to be after every session, and I will graphic record the whole conference as well. But after every session, there's a roundtable, and then people just they come over to the painting and they have a moment because it shuts down that left critical side because we're
yeah.
the battle is in the brain and we get beat up by our own brain constantly. So that shuts it down and you're able to just be fluid with the right side. And in companies, getting back to that for a minute, they could be landlocked on an idea and all of a sudden an art class comes in and boom, 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 breakthrough happens because
Yeah.
I model off of Betty Edwards. She does drawing on the right side of the brain. And I teach a lot of that. She went in and taught portrait drawing. Now, I'm not doing that. That's a whole week. I'm just talking about bring me in for 2 hours, and I
Yeah.
promise you, you will get a breakthrough somewhere. So it's super cool to process and
Yeah.
get out of the box.
That's
Yeah.
great. Now, you have
Yeah.
a Linktree link here that we're going to
Yeah.
have in the comment section for everyone to be able to click on. That's going to
Mhm.
really give them a menu of items to choose
Exactly.
from you to
Mhm.
be able to connect with you. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every week there's a link on there for Tuesdays at 10 o'clock in North Scottsdale. So I'm doing a Coffee Art and Dreams. God has a plan for your life. Come meet me, say hello, meet some people, and color, have some fun, and see what comes up. I'm
That's
going to
what I think is
hopefully, yeah,
important. Just see
yeah,
what comes up. Like, give yourself some grace to be able to go and do this as education for yourself, right?
that's right.
To be
That's
able to
right.
sit and let your brain really
Yeah.
kind of just explore.
Just go. Yeah. It's so funny. The last two art classes I did, it's the first time they've done this type of art. And I said, okay, everybody repeat after me. Shout out the word grace. I said, give yourself grace. One person's like, oh, this type of art's not for me. I'm like, stop it. It's your first time. I've been doing this for 20 years. It's like looking at the person next to you doing yoga, like, oh, I can't do that. No shit, you can't do that. Oops.
Right.
Great grace.
Yeah. That's the
It's so
thing. And with this, there is no messing up. It's not like you have to, make your art, your painting like a paint and sip where they're making it look like the exact one that you drew. It's not like that. You really
no.
want them and you've done classes within the LEAP community and I've seen how we're able to just explore and really make it about us. It becomes a
Yeah.
very personal
Yeah.
drawing and it was so much fun. I mean, I just
Yeah.
don't feel like I have a lot of fun, and that was a lot of fun,
Hey.
and I think we missed out on that.
We do.
So
We do.
so
Hey.
Deborah,
Yeah.
you do art classes
Yeah.
weekly in Arizona. You work with conferences and events, a lot of conferences and events on
Yeah.
live recording or creating something for the participants to participate in. And then you
Right.
also do workshops with businesses, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. And
that's
the
important for
workshops with
everybody to know.
businesses. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The cool thing is when I come in with something like this and they do a team building and it's one
yeah,
big piece. Now, this could be blank when I walk in and we build it together from
yeah.
the ground up. So it's a sense of like wow and awe when they walk in the office and say, hey, I was a part of that. And they displayed it. It's kind of like hanging up your kindergartner's,
Yeah.
little
I
thing.
love
But
that.
it's a big deal to be
Yeah. A
valued
lot
like
about
that.
teamwork, for
Yeah.
sure. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Deborah Lee. Thank you for being part of the LEAP community. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone, for joining us today. Make sure you reach out to Deborah Lee Murrow. We've given you all of her information and connect with her. She has free downloads, so you can
Yep.
start drawing yourself from her website. But I would say she's a great idea for your next workshop for business, especially if you want to bring the leaders together and have them do something they've never maybe done before. Definitely connect with Deborah Lee Murrow. And don't forget this week, be you and be strong, and have an amazing week. And we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye.